For my thoughts on all the latest happenings in the NFL in a completely relaxed, unscripted format, be sure to check out my channel, JG9 News. And now, on with our feature presentation. Mattress Mac is an absolute genius. For those who don't know Mattress Mac, he owns Gallery Furniture, which is a furniture chain in Texas. And he's known for betting big time on the Houston Astros to win the World Series. I'm talking millions upon millions of dollars in bets. The purpose behind these bets isn't because he's an addict or anything like that. It's because no matter what happens, he can't lose. During a select period of time, you can buy furniture from Gallery Furniture, and it's completely free if the Astros win the World Series. If they don't win it all, you have to pay up. So Mattress Mac comes out on top either way. Either he just sold millions of dollars worth of furniture, making up for the losses he took out on the Astros not winning it all, or he won a huge bet at pretty good odds, making up for the losses he took on giving away tons of free furniture. Plus, it's amazing PR, and if people like the purchase they made, they're more likely to come back in the future and buy more furniture there when the time comes. All in all, it's absolutely genius. Speaking of genius, you can make the genius decision right now to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a moment of the action when we post and go live. We are trying to build the best football community on this platform to talk all things NFL history all the time. So thanks in advance for your support. And with that, I want to show you the exact opposite of that. And a furniture company that had absolutely no idea whatsoever what it was doing. Because this furniture company right here is Gardner White Furniture. And in 2008, they tried something with the Detroit Lions that made absolutely no sense whatsoever, no matter what perspective you want to look at it from. Because in 2008, Gardner White Furniture decided to do something where they could not come out on top either way. Not from a monetary standpoint, not from a public relations standpoint, absolutely nothing. Because when they did something involving the home opener that the Lions had against their division rival, the Green Bay Packers, let's just say that it did not work out in the slightest bit. And this is the story behind just one of the many elements of the 2008 Detroit Lions that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Before I talk about the asinine decision that Gardner White Furniture decided to make, we need some context to understand the importance of the game at hand, as well as what was on the line from an off-the-field perspective. It's September 14th, 2008. It's week 2 of a brand new NFL season, and we've got a big game on our hands over at Ford Field, as it's the Lions' home opener against none other than the Green Bay Packers, the defending champions of the NFC North, and the team with a brand new future at quarterback, with Aaron Rodgers taking over after more than a decade and a half with Brett Favre at the wheel. For the Lions, this is a massive game for them, and not just because it's a divisional rivalry. Detroit did not start the season off on the right foot, losing in week 1 34-21 to the Atlanta Falcons in a game where they trailed 21-0 at one point in the first quarter. So if they lose this game, they would start the season with an 0-2 record. What's the significance of that? Well, over the last 4 seasons, 48 teams made the playoffs, or 12 per season. Of those 48, just 2 of them had an 0-2 record after the first 2 weeks. Granted, one of them was last year's Super Bowl champion in the New York Giants, but still, the odds are not on your side whatsoever. So, in many ways, this game was a must-win for Detroit, even though we were very early on in the season. However, while the Lions were trying to snap their losing streak dating back to the 2007 season, they were trying to keep one particular streak of theirs alive, and that was their sellout streak. Entering this game right here against the Packers, the Lions had sold out 48 consecutive games at Ford Field. After years of playing at the Pontiac Silverdome, playing there for more than 3.5 decades, the Lions moved into Ford Field in 2002, a much smaller but way better and way more centrally located venue. And since moving into Ford Field, the Lions had sold out every single home game. 6 seasons at Ford Field, and 6 straight seasons of nothing but sellouts. But the start of the 2008 season was looking a bit dicey to say the least, because on Wednesday, September 10th, just a few days before the game against the Packers, there were still a ton of tickets available. Over 3,400 tickets remained for the home opener, and NFL rules stated that if those 3,400 tickets were not sold by Thursday, September 11th at 1 o'clock, then the game would be blacked out and would not be shown locally. So if you were a Lion fan and you wanted to watch your team play, if these tickets were not sold, then you had to either go to the game or go somewhere out of town, or mess with a signal or something along those lines. If you just wanted to turn on your TV and watch the game without doing anything special, you were straight out of luck. But the good news for the sellout streak was that it was going to remain intact. And the reason why? Not because Lions fans bought up the tickets at the last minute, but because a local furniture store bought up the 3,000 or so tickets that were still available at the blackout deadline. That furniture store? Well, that was Gardner White Furniture, a relatively big chain in Michigan. Odds are, if you've never been to Michigan or lived in Michigan, you've never heard of this store in your life. But there are a fair number of these stores around the state, and they're one of the biggest furniture brands in the state. And Gardner White Furniture decided that it would be a good idea to buy the tickets to keep the sellout streak going. Now, businesses buying up tickets to ensure that the games can be shown on local television is nothing new, and by itself, it's a complete non-story. The supermarket chain Winn-Dixie used to do this in the early 2000s for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we saw Burger King do this for a playoff game involving the Minnesota Vikings back in the 1970s, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. So by itself, Gardner White Furniture keeping the sellout streak going and extending it to 49 games isn't anything to write home about. However, it's the strategy that this place right here, Gardner White, used that makes this all the more confusing and asinine, because nothing about this makes any sense no matter how you want to slice it. Because now, Gardner White had 3,000 tickets at their disposal that they needed to get rid of, and they had a genius plan to do it. And by genius, I mean absolutely stupid, because they were going to give away the tickets for free to anyone who, over the next 2 days, bought over $500 worth of furniture at their stores. If you wanted furniture, here was your chance to do it, because now it came with 4 free tickets to the Lions game, provided that you spent over $500. Let's just think logically about this, because there are so many flaws with this that I don't even know where to begin. The problem was that no one was buying Lions tickets. These tickets had a face value of $88. Well, now, people are going to want to buy Lions tickets when they cost $500? Even if you divide that for a family of 4, that is still $125 per ticket. That's still about 50% higher than what face value was. Either way, this is significantly higher than what they were marked at beforehand. If no one wants something, the way to get people to buy that thing is to apparently increase the price. Imagine if a friend asks me if I want to go see Selena Gomez in concert for $50, and I say, no way, she's a horrible singer and can't sing live, and I don't want to spend $50 to see her. Then, my friend goes and buys 2 tickets and says, good news, I got tickets to see Selena Gomez live. If you want to come with me, I got the tickets for $150, so you just need to pay me $75. How would that make any sense? If I didn't want to see her for $50, why would I want to see her for $75? That's what Gardner White Furniture's logic was here. And maybe you might say that this strategy would work if this was the only way to watch the Lion game. Maybe you might say that in the 1960s, where games were not locally televised regardless of if they sold out or not, that this could be a viable strategy. Buy up the remaining tickets, and hope that a Lion fan wants to be able to watch their team play as we get closer to the game. Heck, this might be a viable strategy if they did this after the blackout deadline. But guess what? There were other ways to watch the Lions play if you really wanted to, which based on how the attendance numbers were going, not a lot of people did. For one, instead of spending $500 on furniture, you could watch the game for $0 by watching it at home on television. That's less of a time commitment and significantly less costly. Or, if you still wanted to be at the game, you could always check Ticketmaster, because this was 2008, and you could absolutely buy tickets online like the vast majority of the population was doing. You didn't have to be at a physical location and line up outside a physical space to do it. Plus, they didn't even buy up the entire allotment, because Green Bay didn't sell its entire allotment of away tickets, so there were still a fair number of tickets that weren't even on the resale market. I promise you, if you went to Ticketmaster and wanted to go to this Lions game, you could have gotten in for way less than $500. So good job. Your strategy of being the lone place to have that supply, a supply that people don't even want in the first place, backfired. If you really want to go to the Lions game, then just, buy a ticket to the freaking Lions game without jumping through this crazy expensive hoop. It's like if a grand piano store is offering 4 free tickets to the state fair with the purchase of a grand piano. I'll just buy 4 tickets to the fair and get in for way less if I really want to do that. And maybe you might say that the idea is to incentivize people to buy furniture and to give their store a leg up on the competition, so people are more inclined to buy there versus another furniture store in the area. But let me ask you this. Who buys furniture on a whim? Furniture is expensive. Furniture takes some space. I don't think anyone in their right mind saw this and decided, hey honey, we should buy a new kitchen set tomorrow, because we get 4 tickets to the Lions game if we do it. Even then, a new kitchen set might not be enough, because it was $500 or over $728 today. Let's say that you do buy $500 worth of furniture, and let's be honest, nothing in the store is costing exactly $500, especially after tax. But let's just assume that you spend the minimum amount possible. You now also have to spend money on parking at the stadium and probably concessions either at the stadium or outside the stadium. You're dropping close to high 3 figures or 4 figures, and this isn't something that a lot of families can just do on a whim. Not many families can go into a weekend not needing new furniture, but really wanting to go to a Lions game and say, I know we weren't planning on doing it, but let's drop 4 figures and take all the money we made this week and put it on this deal. It's not like this is buying groceries. Speaking of money, the store isn't even making money from this, because they had to buy the tickets up at face value, and each ticket costs $88. So combined, 4 tickets cost $352. And if someone buys $500 worth of furniture that they otherwise would not have bought, and we assume the average profit margin of a furniture store is somewhere around that 30 to 40% mark, you're not even coming out ahead here. You're just not. And making this idea even stupider, as if it wasn't stupid enough already, is that this was 2008, as in the height of when we were in a freaking recession. Money was tight as it was. People were losing their jobs and the economy was doing terribly. And what city got hit harder than any other city from the Great Recession? Detroit. The Motor City took a beating during this time period, and it took them years to recover and gain a good image. So for Gardner White Furniture to think this could possibly be a good idea, and for them to think that people, instead of buying Lions tickets for $88, should buy Lions tickets for $500 during the worst economic period this country had seen since the Great Depression, especially when there were other way more convenient and less time-consuming ways to go to a Lions game if you absolutely wanted to do this, is just laughable to me in so many ways. Now you might be saying, well, come on. Sure, they might not turn a profit from this, and sure, from the financial perspective in the short term, this might not make a whole lot of sense. But from a PR perspective, they can offset the costs easily. This is an easy PR win for them. Think about it. You remember that Gardner White Furniture helped you watch the Lions game. You have that name recognition in the back of your mind. And the next time you want to buy furniture, you think of that company because of their active good. However, many Lions fans did not want the sellout streak to continue. Many Lions fans were hoping that this game would be blacked out right here. The reason? A blackout would force owner William Clay Ford to do something and care about the team. There was a belief, and rightfully so, that Ford would have no incentive to do anything regarding the Lions and making them competitive. Because as long as the sellout streak was alive, why would he care about whether his team won or lost? He was making money either way. It's almost like this. If I told you that no matter what you did, good or bad, you would make $250,000 at your job, would you work as hard? Would you put in overtime hours? If you could make $250K, regardless of if you even showed up for work, or regardless of how many hours you put in, would you try and be that great at your job and put in the extra effort? Most of you would probably say no to that, and that's because that's natural human instinct. In fact, this was such a prevailing thought that the Detroit Free Press put out an article explaining the logic employed by these fans, saying, "Surely you've heard the argument 1,000 times. As long as Lions fans keep supporting a losing team, William Clay Ford will be content to lose." One fan even wrote, "This team will never change, as long as they have their home games sold out and are making money. Why should they ever put a good team together where they continue to have suckers continue to buy season tickets, and companies bail them out when a sellout isn't going to happen?" So even if this was meant to be a PR win, Gardner White completely misread the market, because people weren't thanking them for their act of kindness, if you want to call it that. They saw a bad situation and ended up making it even worse. This is the SpongeBob equivalent of, "We did it, Patrick. We saved the city." No, you didn't. No, you freaking didn't. Nothing about this makes any sense. You didn't make money. You didn't win from a public relations standpoint. You made fans angry more than anything else, and your logic was completely backwards to the point where it made my head hurt. Who even approved this idea? That's how dumb it was. Who legitimately thought that buying 3,000 tickets at face value to try and increase sales was a good idea? As for how the game went between these two teams behind me right here, I don't think I'm shocking anyone when I say that, considering the fact this was 2008, the Detroit Lions lost the game, as the Green Bay Packers took it by a final score of 48-25. It's actually funny because with 6 minutes left in the contest, the Lions led it 25-24, but 3 straight drives ending with an interception, including back-to-back pick sixes, made the game an absolute bloodbath. Aaron Rodgers finished the game with 328 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, and he gave Lions fans a glimpse of what was to come for the next decade and a half in terms of the Packers absolutely torturing the Lions. As for the sellout streak, Gardner White Furniture decided to abandon this strategy, and the sellout streak lasted one more game before every other game for the remainder of the 2008 season was blacked out. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that GWF made the wrong decision here, considering the fact that during the Lions-Packers game, there were blocks of empty seats that were very visible at Ford Field. Oh, and the Detroit Lions in 2008, they ended the season with an 0-16 record, becoming the very first team in NFL history to end the season 0-16. Just good stuff all the way around. So as a word to the wise for any business owners who may be watching this video for whatever reason, if you're going to do something, think about it for more than 5 seconds before executing it. If you can't win from a public relations standpoint because Lion fans don't want the game getting sold out so they can send a message, if you can't win from a monetary standpoint because you're not turning a profit on a purchase, if you can't win from a supply and demand standpoint because there were other ways of buying tickets and other ways of watching the game, and if you can't win from a common sense standpoint because no one in their right mind during a recession in Detroit is dropping money on furniture on a whim when freaking Lion tickets are the incentive, then maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't do this. Just a hunch. Because in 2008, amazingly enough, when it came to this strategy, GWF stood for Great Wide Failure. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.